What's up, people? My name is JR. I'm a consultant in the music business, and I'm here to talk about the shift of power from radio to streaming. Welcome to Game Told. So, the shift of power from radio to streaming. Back in the days, if you wanted to get your music out there, and the most single influential thing in the game was a radio playlist. Now, this meant the difference between you just coasting in and out of the top 100 to cementing you into the top 40. So, and how was this done? Radio had a thing called a playlist. They still do have it, actually. So they had an A, B, and C, and I think there's a D list. And then they had other minor ones called introductory. Well, they were more or less introductory, where they'll bring you in and then, play you, give you a few spot plays here and there. Now, a playlist is, a radio playlist is where you're guaranteed a certain amount of spins at prime times of the day. So we know that there's drive time, like in the morning, people doing the school runs and off on their way to work. We know that there's a daytime, lunchtime radio show as well, and then there's the drive time home. These are the key times that people listen to radio, and those are the times that the radio gets the peak listeners. So being on a playlist guarantees that you can be played on at these crucial times. So the majority of people get to hear your music, and it should transcend into sales. So getting on a playlist. Before you got on a playlist, you had to first of all hire a radio plugger. Now, this radio plugger will come through, sit down and talk to you and say, look, okay, let me hear your singles, and it will go through with you. Or you just service a track to them and say, this is the song that we want to put out. What do you think? We all agree. It goes into the radio station and goes and services it for you. You couldn't just walk straight into a radio station. You had to hire a plugger. And these pluggers would charge you something between, at the time, I'm talking around 2005, 2006, when I first came in contact with one. And they were charging something like £700 a month. So £700 a month, he goes a few times in, tries to convince them that your song is the right song. It goes to say, we never got any success when it came to trying to get on the playlist as an independent. Because, I was actually told, I don't know how true this is, so don't quote me on it, but I was told that if you're with a label, you have more of a chance of getting on the playlist. Not because it costs more or, because of the cost or anything, but they had better relationships. So say, for instance, I'm a hip-hop artist and, I'm competing with another hip-hop artist who's signed to a major label. The first thing that happens is I service my song, they say no, and that's it. They ain't got to see me. But if somebody from Universal goes in there and says, look, if you play this song for one of our artists, when the new Jay-Z comes next week or the new Mariah Carey comes next month, we'll make sure you get the exclusive. So it's favor for a favor. I get it. So they always had that advantage over us. But anyway, I digress. So they take it, they service it, they can tell you no or yes, and no word of a lie. The people who used to run these playlists, they were definitely 100% categorically, I can say that they were playing God. They were playing God with people's lives. They will dangle carrots, they'll string you along. Oh yeah, maybe bring this in, maybe do this, maybe do that. And then as soon as you bring it in, they reject it. And they had so many silly reasons as to why. So you never hear of an independent artist getting on a playlist. It was unheard of. You might get spot plays here and there. And if you had good relationship with a few DJs, you were lucky. The DJs will play you while they're on, but it's never enough because that DJ is there for a set time. So when he comes in, or he or she comes and plays the song, they play it, they move on, nobody plays it again until they come back again. What you want to be is on the playlist, so you keep getting loads and loads of spins all throughout the day. So anyway, fast forward, streaming comes to town. Spotify, Apple Music, the rest of them. Streaming kicks in. And what streaming does is it gives everybody a fair opportunity. So the streaming platforms come through, and one of the first things they do is encourage people to create playlists. So your local DJs, university students, just regular people who loved music started to put together really, really good playlists. And the majority of us, being lazy as we were, we say, okay, cool. Instead of going there and finding a song and going in and typing and looking for another song, we'll just latch onto a playlist and listen to all the music there. So these people amassed crazy numbers, crazy amount of followers. So some of these playlists were in the hundreds of thousands, some had millions, all that stuff. So that will, if your song ended up on a playlist, you would end up having multiple plays and spins on one track, and that will just send you up the charts or make your song really popular, and you blow from there. So it became a fair playground. So everybody stopped focusing on radio and started focusing on the streaming platforms, because the playlisting on the streaming platforms was fair ground. Absolutely fair. Everybody had a chance, whether you were signed, whether you were unsigned, whoever you were. If you had a good song, you would get on there and shoot above. Fast forward maybe 10 years later, streaming is still powerful, and streaming playlists mean everything. The radio playlist is not, I've sat in meetings and it doesn't even come close to being as important as it used to be. Most of these people that were the gatekeepers that were playing God with people's careers have now left radio and shifted over to the streaming platforms. But they're playing fair this time, because the people speak and the people choose what they like. They don't like to be spoon-fed or force-fed anything. So it's more organic and it works well. So what streaming mainly did was take the power from radio and bring it into all of our hands, and let us decide what we liked, and didn't force feed us anything, and nobody had to accept anything. If you didn't like it, you didn't listen to it. But now the difference is we have that choice. So don't get it twisted as well. Radio is still a good tool. I mean, radio still pays for more. Every time they spin your records, you get paid more on radio than you do on the streaming side. So it's still a good tool. I mean, radio was the reason why they had so much power was because they were the only ones who were able to reach every single person in every small town, every small city, up and down the country. Anybody who was streaming online, they could reach them, So, and that was the only way of doing it. But when streaming became popular, now it's on everybody's mobile phone. So anyone could access the streaming sites and say, oh, UK music, let me go in there and look for the best playlist or a playlist and start listening to it. So that's the main reason that's the main focal point of the power shift. So in conclusion, playlists on streaming platforms give everybody a fair crack at the game. This day and age, there's no real excuse. They're not as easy to get onto anymore. They never have been really, but you play your cards right. You put a little spend behind your releases and stuff. You will catch the eyes of these people, the ears and eyes of these people. And once you do, they will consider putting you on their playlist. Make your song hot enough and you have every chance in the world. It's not like it used to be. So go for it. And that's Game Told.